Namaste. I hope everyone is having a wonderful beginning to Navaratri, Reflections on the Divine Mother. Today I wanted to read a section again about Sita from the Untold Story of Sita. When the question that has for years been in my mind is how aware is an avatar of that avatar's true identity? Are they aware of who they are? And from what I've gathered from looking at the life of my own guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, is there are moments of awareness, and then those moments deepen as they come of age. So by the time they reach the teenage years, they're already able to access deeper parts of themselves. And here's a moment in Sita's life when she has such an experience, an awakening experience. So, for those who haven't read The Untold Story of Sita, this is told through the voice of her servant Meenakshi. And it also, Soma, as I read yesterday, was her close attendant who sort of was by her side all the time. So I'm going to read about an awakening experience Sita had before her marriage, when she might have been 15 or 16. A few years after Soma's arrival, Mata began to spend more and more time alone, wandering off into the forest while we were all engaged in other activities. When it would come to our attention that she was nowhere to be found, I would get anxious. Soma always reassured me and would go herself into the forest to find her. On one such occasion, Sunainama, that's Sita's mother, had been looking for Sita but couldn't find her. She approached me to inquire about her, but I only shook my head. "I've not seen Sita since last evening," I replied. Looking uneasy, she murmured, "Urmila," that's Sita's sister, "also has not seen her, and she did not show up for the morning meal. She has been gone a long time." Then Sunainama inquired of Soma, who responded as I did, but added, "I think I know where she is." I glanced at Soma, knowing what she meant. When Sita wanted to walk in the forest to experience its beauty and to be with the animals, she would not go alone. She would always invite her sister or her cousins or one of the servants. But when she wanted to commune with the deities in meditation, she would often slip away before any of us noticed. "I believe she left for the forest alone very early this morning," she replied quietly. "I will try to bring her back." "Please, Soma, go quickly and ask her to return to the palace," requested Sunainama. "A number of sages are coming tonight, including Sage Gargi, and I know Sita will want to serve them their meal and sit with them this evening." She must get ready. The sun had passed the midway point in the sky, and there were not many hours left of daylight. The sages would soon arrive, and Sita always insisted on serving them herself. Soma left, and I waited anxiously. Not long after this conversation, Sunainama sought me out and asked if Soma and Sita had arrived. I shook my head. What could have happened, she mused. I could see that she was concerned, and so hurried to assure her. "I will go and see what has kept them, perhaps an animal in need." Sunainama nodded her head. We all knew of Sita's care for the animals. If there was an injury or an attack on an animal, Sita would attend to it and not leave until she had done what she could. "Yes, go, Meenakshi, and tell them to hurry back." It had been some years since I frequented the forest, as it was usually Soma who now accompanied Mata on her walks. So I cautiously entered the thicket of trees and followed the narrow path. I called out to them, at first in a quiet voice, and then more forcefully, "Soma, Mata." There was no answer. I continued to call out, and as I entered more deeply into the groves. Finally, I saw the figure of Soma approaching. She was alone. "Where's Mata?" I asked in alarm. "Sunainama has sent me to find you both." The smile that always adorned Soma's face was gone. In its place was an expression of concern. Her face was pale, and her voice vibrated with a slight quiver as she replied, "She is deep in meditation. I think she has entered a very high state, and I cannot bring her back. She has not moved since I arrived, and sits there still as a rock." Hurry back and ask Janak Baba to come and bring water and some fruits for when she returns to waking consciousness. Without a word, I turned around and ran as fast as I could over the rock-strewn path, making my way through bramble and heavily wooded growth. As I neared the edge of the forest, something caught my clothing, and before I could prevent it, I fell to the ground and twisted my ankle. Tears filled my eyes. I could not stop now. I had to get to the Maharaja. Mata, give me the strength to carry on, I prayed, as I forced myself to my feet and with much difficulty made my way into the palace. There I encountered Kiran, another servant, leaving the kitchen area. "What happened, Meenakshi?" he asked in a concerned voice. "Why are you limping? Are you hurt?" I shook my head. "I must find Janak Baba. Do you know where he is?" "In the stateroom with his guests. They have all arrived. They are ready for the evening meal, but everyone is waiting for Mata." He paused and then glanced down at my leg. "But what is wrong with your foot? You are limping. I can get one of the servants to go to Janak Baba if you need him." No, I hurried to reply. "I'm fine, really, but I must go." Taking my leave, I did my best to hobble to the stateroom. I heard their voices as I approached, but as I reached the doorway, I stopped. Never before had I entered that room without being called there. It would be presumptuous of me to enter, but Janak Baba was needed. What was I to do? I retreated a few steps, undecided, when I heard him call for me to enter. I tried to steady my steps as I entered the room and offered pranam to Janak Baba and the gathered sages. "What has happened to you, Meenakshi? Why are you limping?" he asked. "It is nothing," I replied in barely more than a whisper. "Soma has sent me to request your presence. She is with Sita Rajkumari in the forest and says it is urgent that you come." "Is anything wrong?" he asked in a voice of concern. "I don't know. She says it is urgent." Janak Baba closed his eyes and stayed this way for several minutes. Then opening his eyes, he murmured, "It is what I thought. I have long been afraid of the day when she would remember where she came from." As Janak Baba excused himself from the assembled sages, Sage Gargi asked if she could accompany him. He nodded, and calling for Usha, one of the Sita's cousins, he instructed her to take care of serving I think that's one of the servants. He instructed her to take care of serving the evening meal. Then Janak Baba asked 4 guards to fire the torches to light the way, as darkness had already set in. As best I could, I hobbled off to gather a few fruits in a basket and fill a small jug of water. My ankle was now throbbing. With great pain, I led them to where I had met Soma. She was not there, but when I called out to her, she emerged and guided us to where Sita was seated in an immobile position, looking like a lotus flower in an utterly still pond, showing not the slightest flutter of life. I had never seen her like this before, and my heart pounded at the thought that she might have left her. A cry escaped my lips, but Soma put her hand on my arm to still me. "There is no breath in her," murmured Soma to Janak Baba. "I arrived just after midday, but she had been missing since early morning, and I suspect has been like this since then." Soma and I retreated a short distance as Janak Baba uttered a mantra and entered meditation. Sage Gargi began to chant Veda hymns. Several hours passed with him in silent meditation, and Sage Gargi chanting. Finally, Janak Baba rose and asked me to bring all the sages. "I cannot bring her back, but perhaps collectively we can entreat her to return," he said solemnly. As Soma saw my condition, she asked me to stay put. She took 2 of the guards to light the way and returned to the palace. The sages knew nothing of what had transpired and thought it was very strange that the Maharaj had disappeared so suddenly with no explanation and had still not returned. It was getting late, and they were eager to retire. They were not pleased with the situation, but when Soma arrived and explained in a sorrowful voice that due to Sita's condition, the Maharaja was requesting them to come to the forest and hold their discussions there in her presence. They all nodded, saying they were eager to be of assistance. Soma added, "The Maharaja is hoping that your presence will help bring back our beloved Rajkumari to us." She led them into the forest where Janak Baba and Sage Gargi were meditating by Sita's side. Some of the servants accompanied them, bringing cushions and torches. The 6 sages made a semicircle around Sita and began chanting Vedic invocations. They meditated. They discussed their perceptions, followed by more meditation and more discussion. At one point, Janak Baba stopped participating and entered what appeared to be the same state as Sita. He sat there still as a rock, without any movement, and seemingly without any breath. And so the night passed. Leaning against a tree, I drifted into a semi-sleep state. But as the night wore on, the pain in my foot increased until I could no longer find a comfortable position. Soma saw me squirming and realized that I had hurt myself quite badly. Searching for something to wrap around my foot, she finally tore part of her shawl and, despite my protestations, bandaged my leg. This eased the pain enough for me to drift off into a shallow sleep. At the first rays of dawn, the chanting began again, mingling with the chatter of the assembly of birds. Together they made a most beautiful symphony of sounds. My eyes opened to an almost unearthly scene. The greenery of the forest glittered ever so gently in the early rays of dawn. A soft hue had settled over the forest floor. Many small animals had come close to us in the night to observe this most unusual gathering. It appeared as if we had all awakened to another world, more beautiful even than our earth, if that was possible. My eyes went first to Sita, hoping that she had returned to the world, but she remained locked in the meditation pose. And Janak Baba was still deep in meditation as well. The chanting went on for some time, and when it ceased, the sages began discussing the nature of what they had experienced the night before. One of the sages remarked that he had entered a state he had never previously experienced. Another concurred. It was then that I saw Janak Baba slowly open his eyes. A look of radiant joy painted across his face. He listened quietly as the sages continued to comment on the nature of their experiences. Suddenly, I saw a movement. Mata had shifted her position ever so slightly. Everyone seemed to catch this subtle movement of her hands, and the sages fell silent with all eyes turned to her. She didn't stir again for some time, but finally her eyes cracked open. The first one she saw was Janak Baba, and she smiled, opening her eyes wider, her face exuding such love. "Pitaji," she whispered, "you are here." He also hadn't spoken for that moment, but he nodded and said very slowly, "We are all here, Sita. You could not come to us, so we came to you to share in your ecstasy." Sita looked around and seemed surprised to see us all gathered, not quite grasping what had happened. And so Janak Baba continued, "You came here early yesterday morning and went into deep meditation. Soma could not bring you back, nor could I, so I brought the sages who had come yesterday to the spot where you are." For some time everyone sat in silence, as if still enjoying their inner experience. And then Mata noticed the basket of fruits and the pitcher of water before her. Asking the sages to excuse her for not serving them the evening meal last night, she slowly rose and gave each one a piece of fruit and some water. Then Janak Baba asked the guards to guide everyone back to the palace for the morning meal. "I will join you shortly," he said. As I rose to leave, I quietly winced in pain. Mata noticed this and asked me to stay behind with Soma, saying that she would apply some medicine. When the others had left, Baba asked very gently, "Where had you gone, my daughter? I could not find you anywhere in the ethers." She replied simply, "To him." "To whom?" he asked. "To the one I will marry. It was he who brought me back. When he uttered the words, 'Soon we will be reunited,' this body came alive again. Had he not arrived, I would have merged into the great ocean of being." "I will be ever grateful to him for bringing you back to this world," Baba replied with deep emotion. "I was afraid you would disappear into the absolute, and my Sita would be with us no more. I am not yet prepared for that." She smiled. "You know, I would not leave without first asking your permission. You who have called me to this world will be the one to release me." This was the promise Sita made to her father that day in the forest. Janak Baba smiled. "Let us go have some food with our guests." "You go, Pitaji. I must attend to Meenakshi's wounded ankle." As he rose to leave, she added with a knowing smile, "I see you also dove into that blissful sea." He offered pranam and replied very solemnly, "No sage has been able to transmit the experience that I received in your presence last night. If you were not my daughter, I would—" "Pitaji, say no more," she replied, gazing lovingly at him. "What came to you last night was the result of your many years of effort." Janak Baba seemed reluctant to leave her, but Mata laughed and said, "Don't worry, Pitaji. I have given you my word. I will not disappear from here." "I will go see to our guests then, but do not stay long. Your mother, I know, is eager to see you." Once he was gone, Mata directed Soma down a nearby path and described in detail the plant that she would find. Then she reached over to unwrap the bandage that Soma had improvised. Instinctively, I tried to withdraw my leg, but Mata would not let go of it. "Please, Mata, it is nothing really. I just need to rest a bit longer." "You have been resting all night, and look at the swelling. The medicine will help." My ankle was now twice its normal size, and when the throbbing was relentless, it was difficult to keep the tears from welling up. "I am your servant, Mata, please," I murmured quietly, trying again to withdraw my leg. Holding on to my leg, she touched the swollen ankle very gently and said, "And I am the servant of the world, Meenakshi. How can I not care for your wound when I have the means?" To me, this is a very touching passage because it teaches transcendence and being totally present with the needs of the now. Sita had gone into the absolute, and yet the first thing she does when she comes back, when she returns to bodily awareness, is feed the sages and take care of her servant's wound. It's a beautiful lesson that I've thought about very often. Tomorrow we'll continue with our readings for Navaratri.